In this video, we're going to go step by step to install ArcGIS Pro's deep learning framework. Now, Esri has done a great job of laying out how to set up your environment to perform deep learning. So we'll be using the blog post here, Deep Learning with ArcGIS Pro Tips and Tricks Part 1, to help us along. But I deviate slightly in terms of their procedure, only because I found it to be a little bit redundant in places. It assumes some information at places and points where that assumption of knowledge, in my experience, is not one to be made. So I have gently moved around the operating procedure here, but don't worry, we hit all the high points, and in the end, everything will work just as this blog post suggests. If you are already confident that your machine is more than capable of supporting these deep learning frameworks, then by all means skip forward a few minutes. But if you're just starting off on this journey and you're not 100% clear that that is actually the case, we're going to look into that now. We're going to make sure that the computer that you're working on is up to the task. So before we start, we need to ensure that we're able to support ArcPro's deep learning frameworks. So first, you're going to open up Arc. I have it open here already, and ensure you have a license for Image Analyst. So if you are already open or you're opening a new project, you can head to Licensing and find Image Analyst. Yes, it is installed, ready to go. So that's not a problem here. And while you're here, I highly recommend, not hitting that button. Sorry. I highly recommend checking to see if there are any software updates. If there are, run them now. It'll save you some time in the future. Great. So before we start, I found it good practice to create a dedicated folder somewhere on your hard drive that you can send all the downloads to. And I put it on the C drive and named it ArcPro DL files. So you can go ahead and create that folder now. Now we're going to make sure that our computer is actually capable of performing the deep learning tasks that we want it to perform. So the first step is to check if your GPU, or your graphics processing units, are compatible with Cuda, which stands for Compute Unified Device Architecture. And that's because you'll want to run your deep learning packages and algorithms on your GPU and not your CPU. The blog post does note that you technically can run these algorithms and models on the CPU. Performance will suffer and you'll essentially drain your CPU. So it's much better to do it on the GPU and not the CPU. So in order to check this, the steps are right here, but essentially you go to Device Manager, down to Display Adapters, and then you take note of the NVIDIA driver in that drop-down list. The blog post actually makes note that they recommend Pascal architecture or better with 8 GB or more of dedicated GPU memory, which can be found here. Okay, so we're going to check whether or not our computer satisfies these requirements. First, we're going to go to this Wikipedia page, and it's here that we're going to type in the name of our NVIDIA driver. Mine was RTX 4080, and it is Pascal architecture, so that immediately one tick box that we don't have to worry about. And now that we know we have the right architecture, we want to know if we have enough dedicated GPU memory. So to check this, you're going to open up your Taskmaster. This is Windows 11. You're going to go down to Performance and check here your GPU. So Esri suggests 8 gigs or more, we have almost double that, so we're good to go. Okay, so here's where I deviate slightly from the blog post. So the blog post says, to use Cuda on your system, you'll need the following installed. A Cuda-capable GPU, which we've just established, a supported version of Microsoft Windows, which I've mentioned I've got Windows 11, a supported version of Microsoft Visual Studio, and the NVIDIA Cuda Toolkit. Now, these last two requirements gave me a bit of a run for my money, but I think I've puzzled it out. It certainly works on my system. So I'm going to take you through this bit where we go a little bit off book. Okay, so we're going to deal with first the first bullet point says a supported version of Microsoft Visual Studio. I started first by just Googling Microsoft Visual Studio, and this is the page that comes up. You're going to want to click free download under community, which takes you to a separate page. As you can see, I've installed it multiple times. You're going to open the file and allow it to work its magic. And this is the installer launch page that comes up. Now your page might look a little bit different, but if we go to modify, this might be what you have staring at you right now. And as you can see, there are a lot of options here of things to download. If you're like me and are a little bit out of your depth, then you can go through this website. You can look on forums, you can look on chat pages, you can, try to puzzle this out as best you can for the type of learning that you are looking to do, the type of modeling you're looking to run. But what I did is installed these options, so everything you see with a check mark. Also the gaming options, data science, data storage and processing. And when all was said and done, it was close to 20 gigs of stuff that needed to be installed on the computer. And so I just let it run its course. It took about 25 minutes to do. So you can go ahead and do that now. Once everything is on your system, you can install Cuda. Now if we go back to the blog post, again, a nice handy link, and you're essentially going to pick your poison here. So I've got a Windows system, 86, Windows 11, and I would like it as a local executable file. You can go ahead and download that. That's already on my computer, so I won't be doing that again. But feel free to pause here, get that on your system, and then come back. Once that's downloaded, you're going to run a command line prompt to make sure everything is where it should be. So if we head back to the blog post, you can just copy this prompt, search for your command line, copy it over, and you're going to compare your output with the screen capture in the blog. Great, so now we're ready to install the dependency libraries. But I want to make something pretty clear from the outset, which essentially comes from this paragraph that I will almost read verbatim. The deep learning libraries that we're about to install will be in your default Python environment. If that is all right with you, then by all means, keep going. If you want to preserve your default Python environment and run the deep learning tools in a dedicated new environment, then you need to clone your Python environment. This blog post says, skip to the section installing the dependencies on a cloned Python environment. Fortunately, that's not here. All you have to do is Google this phrase, and there are lots of tutorials and procedures to take you through that rather simple process of cloning your Python environment. We're not going to do that today. We're just going to go ahead and install the deep learning libraries. So you're going to click this link here. It's going to take you to GitHub, and you're going to install the libraries for the version of Arc that you are currently running. I'm running 3.2, so I'm going to click this here, and it will start to download to whatever file extension I have for installation. Once this file is downloaded, you're going to move it into the folder that I suggested you make at the beginning of this video. So what does that look like for me? I have moved the download files folder, I've moved the downloaded folder into this folder on my C drive. I've extracted all the elements, and once you open up the extracted folder, you're going to run the Windows installer. Once the installer is run, in theory, everything is set up, and our final step is making sure that everything works. So to do this, we're going to go back to ArcGIS Pro, the short detour to the blog post to copy over this Python code. Under the Analysis tab, you're going to choose Python and Python window. You're going to copy over the bit of code, Control-Enter, runs the code, and unfortunately, nothing comes up. This is something I've noticed with 3.2. In 3.1 and all the other iterations, this would have returned, if everything has worked correctly, true. But nothing is being returned in this Python window. So we're instead going to go up here and choose a Python notebook. We're going to rerun the code, and it's come up true. So this is it. Everything is set up correctly, and you're ready to go. Thank you so much for joining me today as I walked you through the process step by step. I hope it was helpful. I hope it was informative. And I hope you have a great time using these deep learning libraries.